will lead us in the pledge to flag.
Let us pray. Our dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, Lord. We thank you for the sunshine and just the cool breeze. And Lord, we just bring to you and fall on our faces to you over this disaster. And God, I just ask that you'll be with each and every one that has lost things, everything to something. Lord, I pray that you will be with their families, maybe that are not in that area, but are also devastated because of the loss. Be with those that have lost loved ones in their family. God, we just pray that you'll be with our schools, our administration, as we all try to figure out how to go from here. And I just pray that you will allow it to go smooth. And Lord, give us the wisdom and knowledge tonight to make the decisions that we need to, and to keep in mind that every decision we make can affect future generations. God, we love you, we praise you, we ask for your wisdom and love and encouragement tonight. In Christ's name we pray, amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do not have any public comments. Before we approve the meeting agenda, there's been a request to add the calendar to the end of the meeting, the district calendar. Is there any objections to that?
The end of the agenda. Yes.
To the end of the agenda? Okay. There's no objections. We'll add that to the end of the agenda, and I'm looking for a recommendation for the consideration of the meeting agenda.
So moved. I second.
Discussion?
Motion by Mr. Walters, second by Ms. Ham. Couldn't get these. She's trying to record.
She's asking you to speak up whenever you make motions, so she can hear.
Sorry.
Okay. All right. Approval of the meeting minutes. Oh, so sorry. I forgot that one. Motion carried.
Thank you.
All right. Next item is the approval of the meeting minutes.
Second minutes for the 5th and the workshop. So moved. A second. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Announcements.
Certainly. Just some dates. Just as reminders, and we did make an adjustment, and that's to be discussed. It's really tentative, and if the board does not approve this change, then we'll communicate. Otherwise, the dates that are listed in the agenda are incorrect. Those are the original dates, so I need to make that note. The announcement that was sent out on the 28th of September, when we closed schools for the week last week, also indicated, because the Monday, the 14th, the 15th, and the 16th were stockpile days identified for professional development, made the decision of thinking that we need to get our students back into school. On a normal routine and start the week in school. So I announced that we would return to school, all teachers and students, on the 14th. And that is pending board approval. So the item that we added is just, that will be my request for your consideration. So we'll get to that item later on the agenda. And then we'll adjust the dates that's noted in these announcements to be the accurate dates, whatever the board does confirm. Just the county commission meetings, there is a Hugh committee meeting scheduled for Thursday at 1 p.m. We will be, the items I understand will be on the agenda that pertain to us on the Hugh committee will be discussion of the agreement between the county and the board, the Boones Creek agreement, to finalize that. And then also we have a request that's on the agenda later about seeking funds, capital funds for purchase of technology. Those two items of the Hugh committee. Workshops on the 22nd, as you can see, and then because of the TSBA annual conference falling on the first Thursday, beginning on that first Thursday, originally in July when you approved the calendar, we approved the November date to be October 29th. It's on a Tuesday. And the reason for not falling on the 31st was there was just a request to not have the board meeting on Halloween night. So it was identified to be the 29th. And then of course TSPA's November 7th through the 10th in Nashville. And that's all of the announcements.
Superintendent's report.
Various reports. We did have a student board member scheduled to join us tonight, but we're just going to roll that back and reschedule and recreate their calendar. Just given the circumstances, we didn't want their first meeting to be after everything that we've dealt with this past week. Enrollment summaries there, everything's there for just board's full awareness and for public record. Field trips that don't require board approvals listed, and also our monthly financials as well as monthly personnel reports. And Ms. McKinney has provided an update with grants for your awareness. That's all.
Consideration of the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Walter, second by Mr. Irvin.
Here are two discussions and presentations.
We do have the Lewis group was stayed in Knoxville tonight, and they're just joining us remotely for any updates on the ongoing projects, which include, of course, the completion of the stadium renovations and the beginning stages of the work that's being done for the security vegetables at the two high schools. Can you all hear us? Roll call, Ginger.
I think they're muted. Oh, there you
I can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay, we can hear you as well. We'll turn it over to you.
So are you ready for us now?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. So we have just very small, simple updates on all of the Washington County projects. On the athletics projects, we're scheduling our very final punch list for both high schools on the week of the 21st. So we're trying to figure out which exact date on that. On the culinary project, all units have been installed, and the only item that is left to be replaced is the dishwasher, and that is expected to happen sometime next week. And then substantial completion is going to be issued. And on security, I went and visited last Thursday. Demolition has been performed, and the next step is going to be pouring concrete slab. on both schools. That's it.
Ginger, do we not have an issue, not an issue, but there's some additional work that has to be done at the Boone project, Daniel Boone Security Vestibule project? In the demolition?
I'm not aware of any issues, but I do know there's a bit more demo work, but it's in conjunction with the slab that they're gonna pour for the addition.
Okay.
I'm not aware of any additional issues as of now. I did ask them about the storm, if it influenced anything with, demo or anything like that, and they said that there was nothing.
Okay. And I'm gonna let Dr. Adams, he has some information.
I have Jeff Essery here from Merit Construction. He can give maybe a more detailed update about what we found on the wall at Dave Crockett. Give him a little update on the progress.
It was at Daniel Boone.
Daniel Boone.
Yes.
Did I say Crockett?
Yes.
There again, my name is Jeff Essery. I'm with Merit Construction. And at this time, we're halfway through our demo process. I have the first phase done. I am prepared to Wednesday, no later than Thursday, to start my footers. I have an 811 call in. Their time expires on Wednesday, so maybe Wednesday, depending on when I get that call, we'll find out if there's anything that's in the vestibule that would cause me any issues. If not, then I'll proceed.
Okay.
On Thursday at the latest. We did find a substance that was in the wall at Boone to be asbestos, and so I have an abatement team that's going to be there to put a tent inside and outside. Even though I don't know if y'all have seen that I do have sheets that I've protected any of the work that I've been doing, but it'll be a lot different for them to do their abatement when they come in. They'll fix with machines to be able to be 2 outside, 2 inside. Everything will be under a negative pressure and protect anything that gets out of that substance. And that I'm gonna make my wall opening, which will be in that a foot wider than what the door is, so that if there's ever any issues that a maintenance man would have to work on a door, that there is no getting back into what we have found. So to protect everything, I'm putting a bigger lintel, which the door is 40 1/4. You add your foot, I'm gonna end up with an 80 1/4 lintel, which was not expected, but what I will have to do to keep everybody safe for that part of that project. So as I move forward from it, I will be able to start doing the dress up on the part to be able to bring the secretaries into their new home, and then I can do the second stage of that. At Davy Crockett, I do have some pictures. If you could bring these up, and I can show you what they are.
Yeah, it's a insulation material, am I correct?
It was, the substance was in the insulation of the block. It's
Inside
inside of the block. So it's not in the brick, it was not in the airway of the brick, it was in the block.
So we're creating that doorway and had to take the block out and discovered that insulation.
Yes. And I'm gonna have to get the sprinkler line that goes in there and electric, so anything from that area up, I need to clean, seal off, keep it contained.
Got it.
As you can see at Davy Crockett, I'd had the awning removed, and I have the glass doors removed. I've secured the building so that it would be safe. I do have my security fence up so that it keeps us from seeing anybody seeing what we're doing, to keep it nice. I do have the concrete that was removed. Here I have 2 of the guys that took the walls out at Daniel Boone. We've also removed the concrete out in front of the doors so that I could be able to start to dig my footers there. The tape that you see that was on that wall is where the new door is gonna go. So therefore, that's when I've seen that substance, and then I needed to have it tested to find out where we are at.
So
We've
you
had,
done had it tested?
yes, it's been tested. There's actually, there's two different tests. There's one test that got sent off and they cannot say that it's negative. They can say that it is, because if it comes back and it is what it is, that's what it is. They can't say that it ain't. So it has to be retested. They do a 3-part, it's an A and B, and they take the substance and they pour it in a solution. The particles separate, and then you've got an A, and you've got a B, and as soon as they see something, then it stops. If it's A, they stop it at it. If they didn't see that, then they take B, the bottom that's separated from it, they dry it, they take it, test it, and if they catch it that, then they don't do the third test. And they have found what we found it to be. If you can see, I've got the tile floor removed, so that's as far out as the building's gonna go inside for that. I went ahead and had the concrete on the outside removed, so there is where I'm planning Wednesday, no later than Thursday, starting my dig to be able to put my footers in, and I can call for my inspections and have my rebar and all that stuff checked. Any questions, concerns?
No, I mean, dealing with this material, it's isolated to that area, and all the protocols will be, are followed to.
Yes, everything with AVAV will be done. There will be signage. I will have to have signage put up and make sure everything works and moves smooth.
You know, the big question for anybody that's in that proximity, there's no, with it all being contained, there's no danger.
Contained and a negative
at no
pressure.
risk. Right.
Yes.
Anybody else have any questions? Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Put them back on.
There we are.
You hear us, Ginger and Paul? Okay, yeah.
So I guess we'll have to wait and see what the tests at Crockett, what results are on the tests at Crockett. But Boone, we do have asbestos, if I heard Chris correctly.
Yes. In that area that they're cutting the doorway in, it was inside the interior of the block, of the cinder block, as an insulation.
Yeah.
So we're having something tested from David Crockett also?
I don't think that you're not cutting through any block at David Crockett, so there's no need, there's not a need for testing at that site. Because they're not going through that material.
Okay. So it should be okay.
Yes.
All right.
Sounds pretty standard. On a demo job, you hit the insulation material, you won't test it.
You have to stop and test it,
You
yes.
gotta test it.
Yes. Especially a building that old.
Yeah.
That's all the updates we have right now.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Science textbook, instructional materials, and adoption committee?
Yeah. It's, at the workshop, we discussed this, but I asked it to be under discussion because, it's adoption year for science curriculum and instructional materials, and by the policy that is also based on the law, we identify teachers to serve on that selection committee, and this is the recommended teachers that meet the criteria to be eligible to serve on the instructional materials selection committee. Ask that you approve that list.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Can you vote, please?
Thank you. Okay. Next item. Okay, yeah, that's, we have a, you know, to finalize the funds for ESSER, we have to, have approval, to submit this to the state. We have for your consideration.
So
and approval.
we're just asking them if we can carry this over from the state.
It's not really asking them, we had to submit a plan to be approved by the state, it has to be board approved. We have acknowledgement from the state that it is approvable. We just need board approval for final approval.
How long will they let us, what is the carryover, how long can we carry it?
Well, it's just, the carryover, we had to have a plan to spend it, and that's
Yeah.
what this plan is. I mean, it
Okay.
has to be spent. The
Understand.
deadline is essentially now, and definitely everything has to be expended by the end of this, fall.
Obligate September 30th, spend by December 15th.
Yep.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Hammond.
Thank you. Health insurance rates for 2025.
Yes, this is, you know, the board's, approach has been that you pay all of the amount for the CDHP, which is consumer driven rate, the bottom tier. And employees can choose if they want a higher, policy, a higher level policy, they pay the difference. But these are the rates beginning January 25.
We just need a motion for.
We submit those and request consideration for approval.
Mr. Walters.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the health insurance rates for, calendar year 2025.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Yes.
Can we discuss a minute, is it, how much is it went up? Brad?
I mean, it's minimal. I mean, it's, roughly, it was a 5% increase, but you're talking 5% of, you know, roughly whatever the amount to pay. So if an employee's paying $400 a month, you know, roughly it's 5% of that. And I say roughly because each plan has got some variation. Now, the rates are online, should you wanna pull up, we've got last year's rates and this year's rates on BOE.
Just as the highest point, that one, level, the CDHP level with the health savings account, that the board has paid 100%. The employee, single employee amount for 24 was $6,552. And for, the new rate equivalent is $6,936 for the annual premium.
Okay.
So there was an increase, like Brad had indicated.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is the buses.
Purchase of 3 minibuses for the, from Central States per Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Agreement.
Yeah, it's on here. Actually, the board had already approved and we went to the HUE for an amount not to exceed to purchase buses. Just in the board's full awareness, you know, as you can see, these mini buses, the smaller buses, They're gasoline buses, they're smaller, 27 passenger. You can see that on this national bid, they're $102,316. Now, after we buy the 3 propane buses that you approved, you know, the total amount was up to $600,000, so we obviously, in Hugh, don't have enough money to buy 3 buses. So, we either, the choices we have, we can buy the number of buses that we can with the remaining Hugh funds, which would essentially be 1. And then identify other funds using the Sourcewell bid out of the general purpose dollars to buy 2 more buses. Or I can go back to the Hugh and we can modify our capital plan and request the commission to consider and approve that, and then we can request more money from Hugh to purchase the additional minibuses.
So do we have 3 that has to come off this year?
Yeah, these all are on the schedule. So we had a total of 6, but bus prices, they're still going up, and they continue to increase. And even these smaller buses are over $100,000 now.
I think we need to go back to the you or whoever, or to the full commission, because the money they set aside was to keep from sharing with Johnson City to purchase the buses. And we don't have enough now, so.
Well, it just means we'll have to get the 5-year plan adjusted. The board will have to approve the changes, then we have to take it to the commission for them to approve the change. I mean, it can be done, it's just within the pot of money that has been allocated, we can adjust the spending plan and address the purchases of buses with capital funds. It just would bump something else out.
Well, that's why I say, they done this to help to buy buses. Now the price of buses has went up more. They need to adjust their funds to take care of it. You see where I'm getting at? I mean,
Understand.
So whatever I feel like that we need to do, it's just like, a loaf of bread costs this much, and this was all set up when, I guess, Eldridge was the mayor. So, and the price of buses is, I remember buying mini buses for $60,000, $55,000.
Yeah, it wasn't long ago that they were about 65,000.
Mr. Barr.
What's the impact on our fleet if we just buy one? To me, that's a question I need to get comfortable.
Well, we, on the replacement cycle, and these are specialized buses, they're smaller, which, certain specific routes that we use these buses for. And my understanding is, there's buses that will come offline and they can't be used anymore. So that's why we're asking you to replace 3. Based on a replacement cycle, if we only replace 1, then we'll be 2 buses short of those size buses. And and we can push it to the next year possibly, but then it's going to be 2 more in addition to what we have to buy next year. It just pushes it, and the numbers continue to grow if we keep pushing it down the road. And then we'll be facing a year where we have to buy a large number of buses.
So how much do we have in the you said we can only buy 1, how much?
What we got approval from them was in the approved spending plan was $600,000, I believe, for transportation for this year's cycle. And we asked them to spend, they approved us to spend up to that amount that was in the plan.
Okay.
And so we had 3 buses, full-size buses, 66 passenger buses, in that cost, and they were approximately $150,000 a piece, 154. So, right there's $450,000 of that. So you only have $150,000 left, and that's, like I said, 1 minibus.
Right, you said they're about 100,000?
Yeah, this bid is they're 102,000.
Is there anything like, the bus ad money? I think Brad said at one point we got like $25,000 a year for that, if I'm not mistaken.
That's roughly.
Could we?
That's going to
supposed to be going to science.
Oh, is that going to science?
It's already allocated.
Yeah, we have it allocated
Okay,
for
never
science
mind.
equipment.
I'm just trying to think outside the box here.
I understand.
But you said 150,000 for the buses now?
Yes, that's what you all
Cause
approved.
well, I don't remember seeing the price, but I thought the last year we paid was 127 for a 66 passenger.
We could have, but the prices this
But the
year,
buses has went up that much more.
they continue to climb.
Well, that's why I say we need to come up with my opinion, come up with the figure of the three large buses and the 3 mini buses. And go back to Hugh and say the 600,000 is not enough. We need X amount more dollars to do that. But now it's,
I mean, just as a reminder, we established the $600,000 mark when we presented the capital, the capital fund plan. We could have put in more money, but then then we'd have to take the money we have allocated for other projects out of the, take that out and put it in the buses. They would have to add more money to the overall fund if it wasn't going to change anything.
So if we were to go back and change the capital funds through the Hugh committee and the full commission, it'd be taking money from another project.
Yes,
That could currently be under
unless
play.
they approve to add more money to the overall fund.
Okay.
But when they set the new penny rate, the new tax,
Right.
they left the dollar amount essentially the same, and they adjusted the number of pennies based on the value of the penny.
I hate shorter sales, certainly on buses, but if it is something that we can make up, I hate to go back with our hand out and ask for more money for buses. There are buying more buses is a hard sale. There are other things that might be an easier sale.
You saying the budget or Hugh committee
well,
decline or approves it, wouldn't the budget committee from the county commission?
It starts with the Hugh, then it goes to the budget, then if it makes it past those two committees, it goes to the full commission.
So it's a lengthy process.
It's our process.
I think Mr. Dr. Adams has that.
I just want the board to be aware, next year, if I've got my numbers right, we'll be asking for 6 large buses for next school year, and then I think it's 8 for the year after that. And I don't think we're gonna have to buy any more small buses in the next 2 or 3 years, but they're cheaper now, cheap now as compared to adding on 2 small buses to 6 large buses next year. If that helps, having that information. So if they're 150,000 apiece, and we need 6 of them, that's a lot of money.
And they may go up more for next year.
Right.
that's the thing. I mean, when they set that $600,000 aside, or when they decided to do it this way, as far as buying buses, it was good then, because the bus was $100,000 or $120,000, whatever it was. But today's price is a lot more, so in my eyes, that's where the commission, we took it out of budget years ago. We took it out of our budget. They wanted to do it, they wanted to purchase them to keep from sharing any of the money. So, to me, that's where we're in the hole. That's where we're coming up in the hole. We're having to pull use fund balance or go without buses to get this thing in. That $600,000 has got to increase.
Well, in FY '26, the 5-year, every year we review and renew.
Yeah.
So in FY '26, we have in the plan $900,000 for that line item. In '27, we have 1.4 million. In '28, we got 1.7 million. And in '29, we got 1.6 million. It starts taking the bulk of the available capital funds after '27, after '26. Because those are, in my understanding, several years ago, there was a large number of buses bought 15 years ago. And we're seeing that come to fruition in FY '27, '28, '29.
So with us rearranging the routes and things like that, we didn't take any buses off the road. Is that
I wanna say we took 4, maybe up to 5 buses off the route, off the road this school year. As we just look and see where kids are actually riding the buses, I think we've taken up, I wanna say it's 5 routes off the road this school year.
But it didn't affect our minibuses.
No, ma'am.
No, those, I mean, the routes that we were taking off were better utilizing the 66 passenger buses. And so the small buses, you know, they're such specialized routes, and they also sometimes are longer routes, because they're going home to home, and, we're using all the mini buses. Yes, that's a short way to put it. Did not take any of those off.
Well, to me, it looks like we need to,
Well, I mean, I can re-engage the Hugh, the budget, and the full commission, but we can proceed with at least starting the process, if the board will approve, to purchase at least the one minibus with the available funds that we
That's
have.
right.
How much over $600,000 are we talking about to do that?
Well, the two additional buses would be approximately $205,000.
And the source for funding would come out of capital or fund balance? At this point?
If we were, that would be the only source we have without reworking, if we rework the educational capital fund plan and eliminated some of the other projects and shifted the money into the buses, it can be from capital funds, but otherwise it's fund.
I don't know that there's anything we can let go of for capital projects. That's the, I mean, we keep pushing things out, further and further and further.
No, in my opinion, we do have a request that's on the agenda later after this about the technology. And we have scheduled 550, but it's our refresh on instructional technology. So the request is to spend up to 550, I think it's 49,000, but it's 550,000 for the replacement of those laptops.
Mr. Walters?
I make a motion that we go ahead and approve the purchase of one minibus to get that underway. And that comes out of the Hugh committee funds, is that correct?
Capital project.
And it's been approved.
All right.
I second that.
Any discussion?
So what are we gonna do with the other two?
Like I said, we can look at the educational capital funds, really hesitate to kind of stray off the course that we had laid out in the plan. But, we can look at our vehicle line item, if we don't purchase any more vans, possibly maybe we get one more bus out of that. And then that would put us being one away from our need.
Can we make you aware that the prices have gone up and that our line items are not matching? And if we could come up with one, maybe they could meet us in the middle and come up with another without bothering our capital projects, or you think that's just totally off the?
We could ask. I understand Mr. Barnes' point. I don't think it's a good idea to go to them and ask every time they have a need. Try to stick to the plan. But in this case, these are some significant increases in cost.
Right, and if we could do without them, that would be a different thing. This is not something we can just do without. We're gonna have to pull those off. Mr. Walters?
If Mr. Brad can figure something out about the vans, the line item for the bus equipment or vehicle equipment, I could pull my motion back and make it for 2, but is that something we're gonna know tonight?
No.
Okay. Well, I think 1's better than 0, so I'll just keep with my motion.
Any more discussion? Yes, sir.
I think we're gonna have to spend it, to be honest. If they look at us, and I tell you, the lens they're looking at this at is that we have $23 million in fund balance. We need to spend it. They want us to spend it. They're not gonna give us money, so, that's
No, I get it.
the way it is.
I agree.
If we have a need, we'll take care of ourselves until we can't, and then they'll have to take care of it. So, I mean, if it's an actual need and we need to do this, I think we need to do it. That's just my opinion. But with a $23 million fund balance, they're not giving us much for it, in my opinion.
And I understand you're being told that exactly, just when you're told that, tell them that's not counting the 5 million for the stadiums, so we're really down to 18, not counting anything else. That 5 million was supposed to have come out of last year, it didn't. That's why we had the 23. So I know commissioners will probably be saying that to some of you, just remind them that 5 million carried to this year, so we're really down to 18, not counting anything else.
And we've still got 7 months.
We got through June, so,
Yeah,
Well, and we used 9 million to balance the budget too.
yes, you did.
I mean, who knows what the world's gonna bring between now and the end of the budget year.
Mr. Barker?
Well, and I think my intent and spirit is consistent with what Mr. Riddle's saying. If we're gonna go back, we'll go back and ask for money for buses. When we get more, we have to go back for more money. Let's go back for some things that are politically harder to turn down.
We know, I mean, we have allocated 3.5 million for the security upgrades. These high school projects are 1.5 million. So that only leaves $2 million to do the rest of the school. So there's a likelihood we may have to engage them in a conversation about additional funds for those security entrances to complete all schools.
I have a motion, oh, sorry,
Will you take your second back?
I will withdraw my second.
Okay, I'll withdraw my motion if I can make another motion.
go right ahead.
I would like to seek approval for the purchase of 1 minibus using the available Q funds. And I would also like to put in this motion that we go ahead and purchase 2 minibuses out of our fund balance.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Riddle? Any discussion? We can have a vote, please. Authorization to make a request for the Washington County Commission Health and Educational Welfare, which is the HUE, for an amount not to exceed $550,000 for the purchase of instructional technology equipment using the FY25 approved educational capital funds.
That is a line item in the approved plan, and the total amount is $550,000.
So move. Second.
Discussion? Will this cover everything?
Yeah, that's everything that Mr. Fulbright identifies as needs to be in the replacement cycle.
Any more discussion? Vote please.
Okay, thank you.
Motion carried. Thank you. Approval for the shared agreement with the town of Jonesboro for the Jonesboro Elementary Sports Complex.
This is just basically to clearly identify, when it's subject to school use only, and then outside of certain hours, it would then be the community use. It was really to make sure both parties can be in agreement, and that both parties are when it should be school use only, and then when it should not be.
Mr. Walters?
Make a motion that we approve the shared use agreement with the town of Jonesboro for the Jonesboro Elementary School Sports Complex.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, can we have a vote?
Thank you. Thank you.
Discussion of the Crossroads Christian Church parking lot agreement.
You know, it's been ongoing discussion. We had discussion at the workshop. You know, I don't know that we're any further along than we should, that we have been. What we did discuss, if you all recall, is, we need to go from what's a quote to a bid. So it's more detailed and solid, so we can have numbers to work with the church to determine, you know, what the board is willing to consider. But we don't really have any firm numbers until we do that, you know, until that process is done. We could ask the church to do it, or we can do it, or we can both do it separately, and then we can compare. But, you know, we need to move beyond just a quick quote to a bid. We can bring this up at the next, continue the conversation at the next workshop if we so choose.
So we don't have any new information?
No, sir, we do not.
So could we move forward with, if we request a bid using the church's specs for it? Is that what we're looking for?
If you feel inclined to make such a motion, that would be.
I'd like to make a motion that we do so. We move forward with the bid process using the provided specs by the church on that, Crossroads Christian.
Second.
Any discussion? Yes,
I guess my concern at the workshop was their specs was for the heavier duty job. And I mean, I'd ask for that too if I were them. But we're gonna use it more than they are, and it's just not clear to me that that's what really fits the bill. You know, if it is, it is, but I'd like to know the difference between the light to medium duty versus heavy duty cost.
Well, I guess we can include that. I think ultimately, in my opinion, they're the property owner, and the board just would decide how much you would be willing to contribute. Yeah, but I think ultimately what is actually done there would be up to the property owner. The board would just have to decide how much you would contribute.
So if they want heavy duty, they'll get heavy duty, and we just say how much we're gonna put against it, right?
That's the board's prerogative, I believe.
Yeah.
I mean, I like that idea. I think we should tell the church to go get some bids, come back to us, and we'll set an amount that we'll give them, and let them take care of it. Let them be in charge of their own property, you know.
You saw the difference in the price of the quotes they got and what we got there. didn't you?
Yeah,
that's
I
not
know.
one of my
I'd
favorites.
rather be in charge of the process myself.
We might have a better chance of getting better numbers.
And I think as you know, good neighbors there, if we can get the better price for them, I think it benefits everybody. And so I like getting the bids ourselves because their bids were astronomical. So,
And then we'll just decide how much we want.
Okay, well, I appreciate the discussion, it helps me out, I'll support the motion, it does make sense, get that, and then the real decision is what we're willing to pay toward that.
okay.
Just as a reminder, what the board would be paying for is actually the usage.
The usage.
Over,
Exactly.
over, you know, I think the agreement was written up for 25 years, so over a long-term period, what that usage fee would look like.
And how long will that paving job, how long your span would that last?
Have to reseal it every so often.
Right,
There's general maintenance on it.
but, I mean, we're not looking like, you know, every 2 years, we're looking at,
Especially with
There
that
won't be
bid,
a lot of heavy traffic.
the specs they're doing, it should last a long time. If you break that down, the cost of what this is, I mean, I don't know off the top of my head, but you're probably talking $600-800 a month for us over 25 years to use that property. I mean, how do you can't lease it for that. So, I mean, it's a big number in a way, but in another way, $600-800 a month for unlimited parking, that's not a lot in the big scope of things. So.
any more discussion? Need a roll call vote? Sorry. The specs that they gave us.
You can, I mean, I left the agenda as is, you can move it on if you, somebody wants to make a motion.
So, we have the sale of the Junk Road Middle School building and the JES property on there. My question is, do you all want to move this onto our next agenda since they are not here? Because for me personally, this is a big decision, and I think that all of our board members need to be here. Because we're kind of, you know, we've got some out sick, we've got some traveling, and we had to move our board meeting. So for me, I would like to move that, but I would just like to hear what the rest of you have to say.
Agreed. If I was ever out and something like this come up, I would appreciate it if we waited, so I would support that.
Okay. So, do we need a motion to move that, or can we just do that?
You can take a formal motion to move it on out to the workshop.
Okay.
Could we do it at our workshop?
We can discuss it at our workshop.
We would have to just
We have a-
advertise as a special call meeting, just if that's what the board would want to do. If you think you will be at a point that you will be making decisions, it has to be advertised as a special call.
And our meeting's the 29th of this month because of the,
It's a week later after the workshop.
Okay.
um,
Why is the meeting at the 29th?
because
Nashville
National,
conference.
of our conference.
The 7th is the conference.
Oh,
And
okay.
there was a request not to have it on Halloween,
Okay.
on the 31st.
So,
I didn't even look at the calendar.
yes, sir.
I make a motion that the sale of Jonesboro Middle School building, talking about the old Jonesboro Elementary and Middle property, be moved to, workshop to further discuss, then to ultimately be moved to the next meeting, which would be the 29th of this month, October 2024.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? We have additional items for our approval. We had an overnight field trip request that came in after our workshop. So, we need a motion for approval for this overnight field trip that's gonna be for South Central for the All East Singing Competition at Lee University. Mr. Walters?
I'm asking for approval for overnight field trip request from South Central Elementary School Chorus for this singing competition in November 22nd, 2024, for 2 days. Second.
So, any discussion? Can we get a vote, please? Calendar
Yes,
change.
this was what, and I did, after you all approved I added it to the agenda tonight. as I had shared, you know, that weekend, trying to look at all possible, options moving forward, and also knew that the families needed communication. I wanna give them enough time, as we made the decision to close school last week, also had a decision to change the return date from fall break to Monday the 14th. You know, originally it was scheduled to be Monday the 14th, 15th, and 16th were in-service days, and the students wouldn't return to the 17th. But just given everything that has happened, and just the idea that it's best to kind of return to normal and get the students back into a normal routine, made the decision to go ahead and announce that we would start return from the fall break on Monday the 14th. Now, I have the authority based on policy to close schools, but officially to change the school calendar, it requires board approval.
And this would also give us 3 days of our.
Yeah, those were 3 of our 13 stockpile days that we had approved to convert those days to professional development days, but it was 3 of the 13.
So this would give her 3 days back.
Basically, it would be replacing the Thursday and Friday that we missed school, and then at one of the days additional, then another day this past week. To not, my concern is we're not even close to winter.
Yeah, of course.
And there is an idea that the state will waive these dates, but I don't necessarily have strong faith until I see it happen, of course. So I just want to be prepared. The worst case scenario would be we have this, this terrible disaster, and working through it, and then we run out of stockpile days, and then we're adding days to the end of the school year. I just don't think that would be a good scenario.
Yeah.
But we will ask for them to.
We will ask, but the protocol the state has communicated is in these types of situations, if they consider a waiver, districts will have to deplete all of their stockpile days first.
I make a motion that we change the school calendar for the students to return back to school in Washington County on October the 14th, 2024, instead of October 17th, 2024.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Can we vote, please? Thank you. Anybody have anything else?
I just put that item on there, just for any updates. I mean, we've tried to keep the board, I tried as much as I can. It was pretty, from last Saturday on, it was pretty fluid, a lot of changes happening, sometimes by the hour and sometimes by the minute. But, as you all know, at the end of the week, we transitioned South Central from a primary site for distribution and sheltering to Liberty Free Will Baptist Church in that area. Lamar as well. At one point, it was a Red Cross shelter, but the need was, there was no family staying there by the end of the week, so Red Cross closed that shelter. But all of the supplies and distribution went to Cherry Grove Church. And then anything additional, at one point was going to Crossroads, as kind of a county distribution site, central. But I think when they opened the Speedway, things started shifting to the Bristol Speedway, just because they have a greater capacity to house and distribute all of the material. All the donations coming in was just unbelievable. We saw that at South Central, it just poured in. We saw it at Lamar. And on the command post set up on the Crossroads there, 107 and 81 South. I mean, it's just an outpouring of unbelievable donations from local community and then communities all over. It was just very awe-inspiring to see all of the support that came in. But we did transition our schools out. David Crockett served as a site that hosted search and rescue team members from all over the United States, several states. And as of Sunday, they started returning home. So David Crockett's no longer a site hosting all of those folks. So all three of our schools essentially have returned to being just school sites.
Mr. Walters?
I just wanna say that through me working that weekend when it happened and ever since then, to see, which I'm not shocked about East Tennessee, but I am delighted, I'm blown away, any other word I can think of to describe it, that how close everybody grew, because they had to. Everybody needed everybody, and anybody, and we did everything but to not only police, but we were fixing generators at South Central when they went down. We were hooking cars up to them to run the battery because the inverter, the alternator went down. I mean, just, you know, normally I have a primary role, but the primary role was broadened. And the community interaction with us and us with the community, there's bonds that have been made through this that will never be broken till the day our heart stops beating. And I just want to give a shout out to everybody for just dropping their guards, dropping any differences, any of that, because during that time, none of that crap matters. And that's exactly what it is. It's just junk. And we take for granted each and every day the breath that we breathe. Each breath, our life. The stuff we have, we don't have, it doesn't matter. The life, our heartbeat, our community, our neighbors, our friends, our family, our God is what is important. And I just praise the Lord for what He has done for this community. It's not easy, and He never said that there wouldn't be trials and troubles. But He's with us, He's behind us, He's beside us, and He goes before us. And I just want to praise Him publicly tonight.
I would just like to, our staff, whatever school they came from, they volunteered in droves.
Yes.
From our teachers to our principals to our instructional support staff or secretary. I mean, people just jumped in, rolled their sleeves up and jumped in. Our two principals at the two sites, well, our three principals, including Crockett, stepped right in, whatever needed to be done. They were there long hours. And then also the two that are here, there's such a long list to thank on our staff, but, Dr. Adams and Dr. Wolf, they were in communication with multiple people, constantly trying to organize supports, make sure people had what they needed. From Dr. Wolf's side, our mental health supports, our physical health, our nurses, all of those things. Dr. Adams' liaison with emergency management, and then also making sure our principals and all the staff at our sites had what they needed. And it had clear direction. Even sometimes the story changed not every 5 minutes there on some days as far as what direction we needed to go. But everybody was prepared to adjust as needed and kept focused on what was important, and that was just taking care of each other. So, it's very, it's just humbling to watch and be a part of something like that.
I tell you, the lighthouses in the community were truly the churches and the schools. And I mean, it showed that, when you're needed, they knew they were needed and they opened up. And it was great to see.
I just hope everyone will, we've gone through this state of crisis this past week. Now we're trying to transition. We're still going to be in a state of crisis, but we're trying to find, rebuilding and help people heal. And that's going to take a while, whether it's replacing lost possessions, property, lost family members, and you can't replace them. So these next several months are going to be important to support everyone in an ongoing process.
I'd like to also add my word of thanks to the entire system. Multiple times from people throughout the community, how the school system really stepped up. I mean, all the critical organizations, first responders, power board, water departments, highway departments, volunteers, it has been tremendous. Churches, but many comments positive about the school system, and thank you to each of the leaders. Thank you, Mr. Boyd, for setting the tone as the leader of the system to empower people, do what they had to do, to take care of people. Thank you.
Well, they did just that. I'm very proud of them. Thank you. One last thing, just on this topic, we have opened old Jonesboro Elementary School, the round section of the building, to FEMA, and FEMA to be a central disaster center. And I believe all the agents there, that they'll be there, they'll be in our community trying to help people find relief, take care of, help them, support them in the process of recovering what they can. So they actually they occupied that area as of this morning, starting setting up the area. Yeah.
What about the church?
Will be, they know the church hours, the church has been, Dr. Adams made sure the church was fully aware of what we were discussing, and FEMA knows, the church is in certain parts of that building. That's why we focused on the round part was not being utilized, and that's the office space that we were able to give FEMA. And really the kind of the coordination will be to make sure that there's parking when needed by the church, and then also by the folks that are being helped at that center.
Dr. Adams
Yes,
said he had
I'm
something.
sorry, I need to clarify something for the board. At the workshop, I misspoke on the tire bids. I was confused about what was on my list, and I was telling you all that it was Southern Tire, and it's actually Best One Tire is the one we're going to go with. That was our recommendation. I'm trying to have Gina pull it up.
For the same reason.
It's all the same.
And they had a buyback.
And it's $40 to $60 per tire. I know somebody had asked how much it was. It's $40 to $60 per tire, depending on how much wear and tear it has. It's item 7E, Gina. 7E.
And that was
Let's go down a little bit more.
It was in the consent agenda.
It was in the consent agenda, and when I was talking about it, and I talked to Lynn about it, I thought he was gonna choke me. He's like, that's not who we were going with. Keep on scrolling down. It's item E through there. Keep on going.
No, you just want to make sure for the record.
Okay.
Right, for the record, because I was talking,
You gotta scroll back up on the page on the right, Gina. There you go. Yeah, it's kind of wonky.
yeah, there you go.
Sorry.
I think you're doing a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you can see the 16Es are a little bit cheaper than Southern Tires, $119.79, and then the larger tires, the 11Rs are $360. But again, when we trade it in, we're getting $40 to $60 back, basically, on those tires that we buy. So like $320 or even
So they're
$300.
buying them back to cap them?
I believe that's what they're doing, yes, sir. And you asked something about the 16-inch tires. That's for the minibuses. I asked Tony about that. He said we buy not for the minibuses. I'm sorry, it's for our maintenance vehicles, vans, and for some of the minibuses use those smaller tires.
I thought they had 17s on them.
Now, I asked Tony that, and he said it's been the 16s. But anyway, I wanted to be in the record so that if anybody ever saw it, our recommendation is to use Best One Tire because of the buyback on the tires.
We need formal action.
No, I just said it's important for him to clarify.
Okay.
Right, sorry about that.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
And I just want to say, since I have your attention, that guy right there, he really was the leader this whole time, and your board chairperson out there in the community. I was very proud to be a part of what was going on. So kudos to you two.
Tina.
Anybody else?
Just thank you all.
Yeah, thank you all, everybody.
Go Tennessee.
Oh, I'll try.